Alright, reviewing JJK Season 3 Part 1 as someone who's been watching anime for 18 years. We're going through 6 different categories: story, main character, side characters, animation, fights, miscellaneous, and accumulating the points to get a final score from 1 to 10. I am excited for this one. I like JJK. I hopped on Season 1 pretty early and read the manga up until the ending of the Culling game, or at least I think it was the ending. It was up until a certain major plot point. Speaking of, spoiler warning, I know JJK fans relish the ability to spoil the story for others. That aside, let's get into it. Beginning with story, Season 3 picks up during Yuji's execution, soon after the Zenin clan hits a quick aura farming session and decides to take out Megumi. Real rough couple of seasons for the Zenins. On paper, projection sorcery seems pretty decent, but they've been getting wiped since Shibuya. Major fraud alert on their current status. The squad links up and hits a quick debrief on the Culling game and then heads out. Maki goes on to do her thing as Yuji and Fushiguro go off to get Hikari's help before getting into the game itself. I like the Culling game. I'm not going to sit here and act like I understand exactly what or why it's happening, but it seems like a modern take on a tournament arc. There's rules to the game, but the stakes are still there. Overall, we're going 8.2 for the story. Next, we're doing main character. And for shows or movies, I feel that it's important for the main character to be its own category. In most stories, they're the point in the show's solar system that everything revolves around. While that's somewhat the case for JJK, almost all of Yuji's gravity as a character comes from him hosting Sukuna. As a protagonist, he's a little bland, but I think that's intentional, as during the season he even admits to being a cog, and having no real passions or drive for himself. To be honest, that's the perfect description of his character. He's not a bad character, he's not annoying or weak, he completes his task to exterminate curses, nothing more, nothing less. I'm never really excited to see him on the screen, but never mad either. The biggest knock against him is that there are several side characters in the show that are more interesting than him, which I feel like reflects poorly on the main character. So overall for the main character, we're going 7.3. Next, we're going to go side characters, and the side characters are probably the best part of Jujutsu Kaisen. This is the type of show where I could see how anyone who's watched it could have a different favorite character. Each one has such a cool and unique ability. Yuta has Rika and Copy, Megumi has his summons, Choso with blood manipulation, Maki with her infinite bench press technique. It applies even more so to the new characters. Hakuba with Comedian, Higuruma with Judgeman, and the GOAT Hikari with his jackpot mode. A very interesting take on how the power system of the show would be applied to modern sorcerers. We're focusing on Season 3, but even going back to characters like Gojo, Toji, Sukuna, Nanami, the supporting cast has always been strong and continues to get stronger in Season 3. Also, side note, I just watched the last fight and Yuta is legendary. I kept wondering what it was about his character that I liked because it was hard for me to explain, but I think it's because he's a layered character. His nature is gentle and relaxed, but his ability has horror-like qualities with Rika. He himself also has a more gruesome side to his nature that showed in the fight with the Roach Curse Spirit, where he bit his head off, and also with the fight against Ryu when he let his own hands get incinerated as he held him in his own blast. Also, the speech technique is just the best. Shout out Inumaki. Overall, side characters were going 9.2. For animation, at this point we should all know what MAPPA does. They're great, workplace ethics aside. In this season specifically, that remains mostly true. The animation is pretty consistent, and I'll touch on my only major complaint here rather than in the fights portion. The Maki fight. Highly divisive string of episodes, loved by the Americans, hated by the Japanese audience, and I lean more towards the Japanese point of view. I went and reread the Maki fight in the manga, and it was definitely a bit better there. I'm not the type of person that thinks the adaptation needs to be one-for-one remake of the manga, but for Maki's arc here, I feel they missed out on some key segments. And notably the comparison panel with Maki and Toji, and the Naobito Toji panel. These are important, fan-favorite panels that were kind of throwaway scenes in the anime. Again, I'm not asking for Maki's walking cadence to match the manga, but the execution of the impactful scenes matter. Also, Maki's fight with the Zenin clan was probably the weakest portion of this season to me. I didn't love the direction or animation. It was like a huge flashy display of nonsensical violence. Maki skates around chopping people up, and at one point she kicks someone in the chest and he just starts shooting blood out like a fountain. It seemed rushed, the animation dropped in quality compared to every other fight, and it went on a little long. The fight with the main Zennies was okay. Bro right here hit a major aura farm just to get chopped up. Not my favorite. Now, I think the best animation so far was the episode Tokyo Colony 1 Part 4. Very clean animation on the explosion and great tracking shots throughout the city. So overall, we'll go animation 8.2. Next, we're doing fights, and the fights in this season were pretty strong as well. It's hard for me to say which was better out of the Sendai Colony free-for-all and the Megumi versus Reggie fight. The Megumi fight seemed like it had the most thought put into it. Even the minor fights in the room had great choreography when Megumi was using the frogs to launch himself across the room. And even in the final pool scene with the constantly changing shots, Reggie's use of his ability was fantastic. He used his ability in such creative and on-the-fly ways. He responds to Max Elephant's water blast with a surfboard. He uses spa tickets to regenerate his physical condition, and then he spawns a row of appliances to throw at Megumi. On the other hand, the Sendai Colony fight was really good too. The free-for-all aspect was great, and that's not something we see all the time. The scene where Uro turned the street into waves was really cool, and then seeing Yuta get deep in his bag. I didn't even remember the Iron Man arm from the manga, but he had that, Curse Speech, lasers, Rika, Uro's sky bending, and of course we got the iconic triple domain expansion only for it to be ruined by the roach. Higuruma, another one of my favorites, but his fight was a little short and eventually he just let Yuji go. Even Choso's fight against Naobito was great. I like the narrative distinction with their relationship with their family. Choso who loves his family and serves as an example for his younger brothers, and Naobito who hates his brothers and think they're inferior for being weaker than him. Overall, great stuff. We're going 9.2 for fights. For miscellaneous, the miscellaneous piece that JJK excels at are the abilities. I'm not going to sit here and say every ability is 100% original or that I even understand all of them 100%, but they're great. Focusing on season 3 alone, Higuruma's ability is by far my favorite. Perfect for his character and such a creative idea. I definitely hope we get to see it applied to other characters in the future. Yuta is a very close second. He's the Kyrie Irving of JJK. The bag is just so deep. He's pulling out curse tools, reverse curse technique, domain expansion, curse speech, everything under the sun. Takaba's also just great. He's got the One Piece Gear 5 type of thing going on where he's overpowered in an insanely goofy way. The scene where they introduce him and he says no damage and they just hold the scene for so long, just great, just fantastic scene. I definitely hope we get to see more from him too. Once season 3 part 2 comes out and you get to see Hikari's ability, one of the best for sure. Overall, we're going miscellaneous 9.1. So the final score, 8.7. Great part 1 to season 3. Looking forward to part 2 coming out in 6 years, especially for the Hikari fight. But yeah, that's about it.